The alarm screamed through the orbital station like a wounded animal. Red lights flashed in every corridor, and soldiers ran to their positions with weapons ready. Colonel Park Tae-sun stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the main screen. Something was entering Earth's atmosphere, and it was not from any nation on the planet. "Sir, the object is slowing down," said Lieutenant Yoon Hana from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. "It is not a meteor. It is a craft of some kind." Colonel Park felt his heart beat faster, but his face showed nothing. He had trained for 20 years for a moment like this. Every drill, every simulation, every sleepless night had led to this point. An unidentified flying object was approaching Earth, and he was the one who had to make the decisions. "Can we see it?" he asked. The screen changed, and everyone in the room stopped breathing. The craft was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was silver and smooth, shaped like a teardrop, with no visible engines or windows. It moved through the sky with impossible grace, as if the laws of physics did not apply to it. "It is heading toward North America," Lieutenant Yoon reported. "At current speed, it will reach the surface in 12 minutes. Colonel Park picked up the communication device. "This is Colonel Park to all defense units. Prepare for interception. I want that craft disabled, not destroyed. We need to know what we are dealing with." The next few minutes felt like hours. Earth's orbital defense systems, which had been built in secret over the past decade, locked onto the alien craft. Missiles were launched, but not to destroy. These were special weapons designed to disable electronics and engines. The military had always known this day might come. The craft tried to escape, but it was too late. The missiles found their target, and the silver ship began to fall. It crashed in the Nevada desert, far from any city, exactly where the military wanted it. Colonel Park was on a transport ship within minutes. Sergeant Kwon Dae-ho sat across from him, checking his rifle for the 10th time. The sergeant was a big man with a scar on his cheek and eyes that had seen too much combat. "What do you think we will find, sir?" Sergeant Kwon asked. "I do not know," Colonel Park admitted. "But whatever it is, we treat it as hostile until proven otherwise." Lieutenant Yoon was also on the transport. She was not a soldier in the traditional sense, but her skills with languages and codes made her valuable. If these aliens could communicate, she would be the one to figure out how. The crash site was a mess of sand and smoke. The alien craft had buried itself deep into the ground, but it was mostly intact. Soldiers formed a circle around it, their weapons pointed at the strange ship. No one moved. No one spoke. Colonel Park approached the craft slowly. Up close, it was even more beautiful and terrifying. The surface seemed to shimmer, as if it was alive. He reached out his hand but did not touch it. "Find the entrance," he ordered Dot. It took them 30 minutes to discover how to open the craft. The door simply appeared when Lieutenant Yoon touched a certain pattern on the surface. It slid open without a sound, revealing darkness inside. Sergeant Kwon went in first, his flashlight cutting through the black. Colonel Park followed, then Lieutenant Yoon and 4 other soldiers. The inside of the ship was warm and smelled like nothing they had ever encountered. It was not unpleasant, just different. "Contact the head," Sergeant Kwon whispered that they found the crew in a central chamber. There were 5 of them, lying on the floor in strange positions. The crash must have knocked them unconscious. Colonel Park prepared himself for the sight of alien creatures. For tentacles or scales or something, his mind could not imagine. But what he saw made him freeze completely. They looked human, not similar to humans. Not almost human. They looked exactly like humans. 2 women and 3 men, with normal faces and normal bodies and normal hands. If he had seen them walking on a street in Seoul, he would not have looked twice. "What is this?" Sergeant Kwon muttered. "Some kind of joke?" Lieutenant Yoon kneeled beside one of the bodies and checked for a pulse. "They are alive," she said. "Heart rate is normal. At least, I think it is normal." She looked up at Colonel Park with confusion in her eyes. "Sir, these people, they could be Korean. They could be from anywhere on Earth." Colonel Park's mind was racing. This made no sense. If aliens existed, they should look alien. Different planet, different evolution, different everything. How could beings from another world look exactly like humans? "Get them to the facility," he ordered. "Full medical examination. I want to know everything about them. DNA, blood type, everything." The unconscious aliens were carried out of the ship and loaded onto transport vehicles. The craft itself was covered with a massive tent to hide it from satellites. Within hours, it would be moved to an underground hangar where scientists could study it. Colonel Park stood in the desert, watching the sunrise paint the sky in orange and red. He had always believed that first contact with aliens would change everything. He had imagined battles, treaties, new technologies, new dangers. He had never imagined this. The transport carrying the aliens disappeared over the horizon. In a few hours, they would wake up. They would see human faces and hear human voices and find themselves prisoners on a planet they had come to visit. What would they think? What would they say? Colonel Park did not know, but he was determined to find out. His communication device beeped. It was a message from the facility. The medical team had completed preliminary scans on one of the aliens. "Colonel, you need to see this," the message said. "Their DNA Vung. It matches ours. Not similar. Not close. It matches. These beings are human. Or we are them. I do not know how to explain it, sir. But this changes everything we thought we knew about ourselves." Colonel Park read the message 3 times. Then he looked up at the stars, which were fading in the morning light. Somewhere out there was the answer, and he was going to find it. The underground facility stretched for miles beneath the Nevada desert. It had been built during the Cold War and upgraded many times since then. But nothing in its long history had prepared it for what now lay in its medical wing. Dr. Shin Yunbai stood before a glass wall, watching the 5 aliens sleep in their separate rooms. Machines monitored their vital signs, which were remarkably normal. Heart rate, blood pressure, brain activity, all within human range. She had spent 15 years studying biology, and nothing made sense anymore. "The DNA results came back again," said her assistant, a young man named Jo Hyun Woo. "Same as before. They share 99.8% of our genetic code. The remaining 0.2% is different. Enhanced, maybe? But they are basically human." Dr. Shin shook her head. "That is impossible. Humans evolved on Earth over millions of years. For another species to develop the same genetic structure on a different planet, the odds would be astronomical. Beyond astronomical. Unless they did not develop separately," Jo Hyun Woo said quietly. Dr. Shin looked at him. The young man had said what she was thinking, but was afraid to say out loud. What if humans were not originally from Earth? What if they came from somewhere else? The door opened, and Colonel Park walked in with Captain Choi Jae-won, a military psychologist who specialized in interrogation. The captain was a calm man with gentle eyes that hid a sharp mind. He could make anyone talk, given enough time. "Any changes?" Colonel Park asked. "One of them is waking up," Dr. Shin reported. "The female. She should be fully conscious within the hour." Colonel Park nodded. "Captain Choi will conduct the first interview. Lieutenant Yoon will assist with translation if needed." They gathered in an observation room as the alien woman opened her eyes. She was beautiful in a simple way, with dark hair and pale skin and eyes that seemed to hold ancient knowledge. She sat up slowly, looked around the room, and showed no fear. Instead, she seemed curious, like a scientist examining a new specimen. Lieutenant Yoon spoke into a microphone that connected to speakers in the room. "Can you understand me?" The alien woman tilted her head. Her lips moved, and sounds came out, but they were not words that anyone recognized. The language was soft and musical, like water flowing over stones. "Recording everything," Lieutenant Yoon said. "I will analyze the patterns and try to build a basic translation matrix." But something unexpected happened. The alien woman held up her hand and pointed to the speaker on the wall. Then she pointed to her ear. She was asking them to keep talking. Captain Choi understood immediately. "She's trying to learn our language. Talk to her. Say simple things. Names of objects." For the next 3 hours, they played a strange game. Lieutenant Yoon would point to things and say the words: table, chair, light, water. The alien woman repeated each word, her pronunciation improving with every attempt. By the end of the first day, she could speak simple sentences. By the end of the second day, she could hold a conversation. Her name was Kira. She was the captain of the scout ship. She had come to Earth looking for something, and she had found it. "We call ourselves Valori," Kira explained, sitting across from Captain Choi in the interview room. Colonel Park and Dr. Shin watched from behind the glass. "For thousands of years, we have searched for your planet, for your people. You are the lost ones." Captain Choi kept his face neutral. "What do you mean, lost ones?" Kira smiled, but there was sadness in it. "Long ago, before your recorded history, there was a great war. Our people were scattered across the stars. Some colonies survived. Others were destroyed. One colony was lost completely. We searched for it for generations. That colony was on the planet you call Earth." The room fell silent. Colonel Park felt cold despite the warm air. Was this alien woman saying that humans were originally from another world? That Earth was not their home but their prison? "You expect us to believe this?" Captain Choi asked calmly. "I do not expect anything," Kira said. "I only speak the truth. Your DNA will prove it. You have markers in your genetic code that only Valori possess. Check your oldest fossils. You will find gaps in your evolution that you cannot explain. Those gaps exist because there was no evolution. Your ancestors arrived on Earth fully formed." Dr. Shin immediately ordered new tests. She compared human DNA with every database available, looking for the markers Kira described. What she found shook her to her core. There were indeed markers in human DNA that served no known purpose. Scientists had always called them junk DNA, leftovers from evolution. But when Dr. Shin examined them more closely, she found patterns. Complex patterns. Patterns that looked almost like information. "She is telling the truth," Dr. Shin told Colonel Park that night. "At least about the DNA. Those markers are not random. They are coded, like a signature." Colonel Park rubbed his tired eyes. "So we are aliens? This whole time, humans have been aliens on their own planet?" "It appears so," Dr. Shin said. "Though after 50,000 years, I think we can safely call Earth our home." The next morning, Colonel Park visited Kira himself. She was eating breakfast, simple food that she seemed to enjoy despite its plainness. She looked up when he entered and nodded respectfully. "Colonel Park," she said, "I wanted to speak with you. You are the one who captured us. In another situation, I might be angry. But I understand. You did what you had to do to protect your people. I respect that. Why did you come here?" Colonel Park asked, sitting across from her. "After all these thousands of years, why now?" Kira's face became serious. "Because we are running out of time. There is another species in the galaxy. We call them the Hollow. They do not conquer worlds. They do not take prisoners. They consume everything. Every resource, every person, every memory. They leave nothing behind but empty space. Colonel Park felt fear touch his heart. And they are coming here? Yes, Kira said. Earth is directly in their path. We came to warn you, to help you prepare, but we did not expect to be captured. She paused. Though perhaps this is better. Now your leaders will have to listen. Now they will have to act. The door opened and a soldier rushed in. His face was pale with fear. Colonel, you need to see this. Long-range sensors have detected something at the edge of our solar system. Ships. Hundreds of them. They will be here in 2 weeks. Kira closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with determination. They are here sooner than I thought. We have much work to do, Colonel, and very little time to do it. General Baek Sung-ho did not trust easily. He had fought in 3 wars and survived 2 assassination attempts. His instincts had kept him alive when others had fallen. And right now, those instincts were screaming that something was wrong. He sat at the head of a long table in the facility's conference room. Around him were the most powerful military leaders on Earth, brought together by the crisis that threatened their entire world. Secretary Im Ji-young represented the government, her face calm but her hands nervous. Let me understand this correctly, General Baek said slowly. An alien appears on our planet, claims that humans are actually aliens from another world, and warns us about a coming invasion. And some of you want to believe her? Colonel Park spoke up. Sir, the DNA evidence supports her claims. The markers she described are real. Our scientists have confirmed it. Scientists can be fooled, General Baek replied. This could be an elaborate trick. Think about it. She arrives just before this other fleet. She tells us a story that makes us sympathetic. She offers to help us fight. What if she's actually working with the invaders? What if this is all a plan to make us lower our defenses? Secretary Im nodded. The general makes a valid point. We cannot simply trust an alien based on her word and some unusual DNA patterns. Lieutenant Yoon raised her hand. Permission to speak, sir? General Baek waved for her to continue. I have spent the past week with Kira and her crew. I have analyzed their language, their behavior, their reactions. They are not lying. I am certain of it. Whatever is coming, they are genuinely afraid of it. Fear can be faked, General Baek said. I have seen enemy soldiers pretend to surrender, only to pull out hidden weapons. Trust is earned, not given. The door opened, and Kira walked in, escorted by 2 guards. Beside her was Nolan, a male Velori who had been identified as her second-in-command. He was tall and thin, with the careful movements of a scholar rather than a warrior. You requested to see us, Kira said. We are here. General Baek studied her face. She met his gaze without flinching. Whatever else she was not a coward. Your friend here, the general said, pointing at Nolan. What does he do on your ship? I am a historian, Nolan answered. His voice was deeper than expected. I keep the records of our people. Our victories, our defeats, our journeys through the stars. Then show me, General Baek demanded. Show me these records. Prove to me that your story is true. Nolan looked at Kira, who nodded. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, no bigger than a coin. He placed it on the table, and suddenly the room was filled with light. Holographic images appeared in the air, showing a world that was not Earth. It was beautiful, with golden forests and silver oceans and cities that touched the clouds. The people who lived there looked exactly like humans, laughing and working and loving just like people on Earth. This is Valora, Nolan said. Our homeworld. 50,000 years ago, it was the center of our civilization. We had spread to 100 worlds. We thought nothing could threaten us. The image changed, showing darkness spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Stars began to disappear, one by one. Then the hollow came. We do not know where they originated. They simply appeared and began consuming everything in their path. Not for resources, not for territory. They consume because it is their nature. It is what they are. The images show battles, desperate and brutal. Valori's ships fought against shadows that seemed to swallow light itself. For every hollow ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. We fought for 100 years, Nolan continued. But we could not win. So we ran. We scattered our people across the galaxy, hoping that some would survive. One colony ship was sent to the far edge of known space, to a small blue planet that seemed safe from the war. The hologram showed a ship crashing on Earth, breaking apart as it entered the atmosphere. The survivors crawled out of the wreckage, injured and confused, surrounded by a wilderness they did not recognize. The crash damaged everything, Nolan said sadly. Their technology was destroyed. Their records were lost. Within a few generations, the survivors forgot where they came from. They became primitive, starting over from nothing. They became what you call humans. The images faded, and the room was silent. Dr. Shin spoke first. That would explain the gaps in human evolution. The sudden appearance of advanced behaviors. The mysteries that scientists have never been able to solve. General Beak was not convinced. Pretty pictures prove nothing. Any advanced technology could create fake images. Then look at the truth that you already know, Kira said. Your species builds weapons that could destroy your own planet. You fight wars over land and resources and ideas. You are aggressive, competitive, and relentless. These are not normal traits for an intelligent species. These are survival traits. Traits that were bred into us during the war with the Hollow. She stepped closer to the general, her eyes intense. The Valori who stayed on our homeworlds became peaceful over time. Too peaceful. When the Hollow returned, they could not fight back. But you, the lost children of Earth, you never forgot how to be warriors. You never lost that fire. General Beak felt something stir in his chest. He did not want to believe her. But her words touched something deep inside him, something that recognized itself in her description. Even if this is true, he said slowly, what do you expect us to do? The Hollow have hundreds of ships. We have a small fleet that has never fought in space. We would be destroyed in minutes. Maybe, Kira admitted. Or maybe you will surprise everyone, including yourselves. The Valori have fought the Hollow for generations and always lost. Perhaps it is time for a new approach. Perhaps it is time for humanity to show the galaxy what it can do. An alarm suddenly filled the room. A soldier rushed in with a tablet. General, the Hollow fleet has changed course. They are accelerating. At their new speed, they will reach Earth in 3 days, not 2 weeks. The room erupted in chaos. Officers shouted orders into communication devices. Secretary called the president. General Beak stood silently in the middle of it all, his decision made. Prepare the fleet, he said quietly. Then louder, prepare everything we have. If we are going to die, we will die fighting. Kira nodded. We will help you. Our ship is damaged, but our knowledge is intact. Let us work together. Let us show the Hollow that humanity has returned. For the first time, General Beak allowed himself to feel something like hope. It was small and fragile, but it was there. The world changed overnight. Every television, every phone, every computer screen showed the same announcement. The president spoke calmly, explaining that humanity was not alone in the universe and that an enemy was approaching. There was no panic in her voice, only determination. We face the greatest threat in human history, she said. But we have faced great threats before, and we have survived. We will survive again. Admiral Oh Kyung-mi watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Earth defense ship Unity, the largest warship ever built by human hands. It had taken 15 years to construct in secret, designed for a war that everyone hoped would never come. Now that war was here, the Admiral was a small woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. She had commanded ships for 30 years, from small patrol boats to massive carriers. But nothing had prepared her for this. She was about to lead humanity's first battle in space against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. "Status report," she ordered. Her executive officer, Commander Youngi Aite, checked his displays. All ships are in position. 47 vessels in total. The Valari scout ship has been repaired and is joining our formation. Weapons are online. Shields are at maximum. It was not enough. Everyone knew it was not enough. The Hollow fleet numbered over 300 ships. Earth's entire navy was barely a tenth of that size. This battle would be remembered as either humanity's finest hour or its last dot down in the engineering section of the Unity. A young Valori named Teva worked alongside human engineers. She was the youngest member of Kira's crew, barely 20 years old by human counting. But her knowledge of technology was far beyond anything on Earth. "This is wrong," she said, pulling out a circuit board from a console. "Your power systems are inefficient. You are losing 40% of your energy before it even reaches the weapons." Chief Engineer Moon Sari looked offended. That system was designed by the best engineers on Earth, and they did well with what they knew, Teva said quickly, not wanting to insult anyone. "But we have had thousands of years to improve these designs. Let me show you." She rewired the circuit board with quick, precise movements. When she put it back, the power readings jumped dramatically. Moonzari stared at the numbers in disbelief. That is not possible," he said. Teva smiled. "It is possible when you know how. Now, let us do this to every ship in the fleet. We have 2 days." In the command center on Earth, Director Han Byung-chol coordinated the global response. Every nation had put aside its differences. Armies that had been enemies yesterday were working together today. Nuclear missiles that had pointed at each other were now aimed at the sky. "The president of Russia wants to know if we should launch the orbital missiles now," his assistant reported. Director Han shook his head. "Not yet. We save them for when the Hollow get close. Our best chance is to hit them with everything at once." Colonel Park stood nearby, watching the screens that tracked the approaching enemy fleet. Each red dot represented a ship that could destroy cities. Together, they could end all life on Earth. Kira approached him. She had been allowed to move freely through the facility, though guards still followed her everywhere. Trust took time to build, and time was something they did not have. "You should be on the Unity with Admiral O," she said. "That is where the real battle will be fought." "I have been assigned here," Colonel Park replied, "to coordinate ground defenses in case the fleet fails." "It might fail," Kira admitted. "The Hollow are strong. They have destroyed thousands of worlds. But I have never seen a species prepare for battle the way humans do. You are angry and afraid and determined all at once. It is impressive." "We do not have a choice," Colonel Park said. "If we lose, everyone dies. Our families, our children, everything we have ever built. Failure is not an option." Kira nodded slowly. "That is exactly what I mean. For the Valari, failure has always been an option. We retreated, we hid, we survived by running. But you cannot run from your own planet. So you will stand and fight, no matter the odds." The screen suddenly flashed red. The Hollow fleet had entered the solar system. All ships moved to intercept positions. Admiral O commanded from the Unity. Her voice was calm, but her hands gripped the armrests of her chair tightly. Remember your training. Remember what we are fighting for. Teva's modifications have been completed on most of the fleet. The ships move faster now, hit harder, and could take more damage. But they were still outnumbered. The hollow ships were terrifying to look at. They were black as emptiness, absorbing all light, shaped like predators from nightmares. They moved in perfect formation, a wall of death approaching Earth. And then something unexpected happened. The hollow fleet stopped. A transmission came through, filling every communication channel on Earth. "Surrender the Valori," the message said. The voice was cold and empty, like wind through dead trees. "Give us the ones who hide among you, and your planet will be spared. You have 1 hour to decide." In the command center, General Beak turned to look at Kira. Some of the officers around him had the same thought written on their faces. Maybe they could end this without fighting. Maybe they could save Earth by sacrificing 5 aliens. "Do not even think about it," Colonel Park said loudly. "They are lying. The Hollow do not spare anyone. They consume everything." "You do not know that," General Beak replied. "Maybe they only want the Valori. Maybe they will leave us alone." Kira stepped forward. "The Colonel is right. The Hollow have made this offer before to dozens of worlds. Every world that surrendered was destroyed anyway. They enjoy false hope. It makes the feeding sweeter." Secretary M looked torn. "But what if this time is different? Can we risk the entire human race on the word of an alien we just met?" The room fell silent. Everyone looked at General Beak, waiting for his decision. He was the commander. The choice was his. The general closed his eyes. He thought about his family, his country, his world. He thought about what it meant to be human. To fight even when winning seemed impossible. To stand with all eyes, even when standing alone might be safer. He opened his eyes. "We do not surrender our own," he said firmly. "And the Valori are our own. Our ancestors, our family, separated by thousands of years, but still connected by blood." He turned to the communication officer. "Send our response. Tell them that Earth refuses their offer. Tell them that if they want to fight, they will get one." The officer hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. The message was sent. On the Unity, Admiral O smiled grimly. "All ships, prepare for battle. Today we show the galaxy what humanity can do." The hour passed in silence. And then, like a wave of darkness, the Hollow Fleet advanced. The battle began with fire and chaos. Admiral O watched as the first wave of Hollow ships crashed against their defensive line. Human missiles exploded against black holes, tearing holes in the enemy formation. The Valori modifications worked better than anyone had hoped. Human weapons were hitting harder, faster, more accurately than the Hollow expected. "Focus fire on the lead ships," Admiral O commanded. "Do not let them break through." The Unity shook as enemy fire struck its shields. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. But the ship held together, and the crew kept fighting. On the Valori scout ship, now flying alongside human vessels, Kira commanded her small crew with desperate energy. Nolan tracked enemy movements, while Teva kept their systems running at maximum efficiency. They were one small ship against an armada, but every shot they fired counted. "They are not expecting this," Nolan said, surprised. "The Hollow are confused. They have never faced resistance like this before." "Humans are stubborn," Kira replied with a small smile. "They do not know how to give up." The first hour of battle was brutal. 12 human ships were destroyed, their crews dying in the cold darkness of space. But for every human ship lost, 3 Hollow vessels burned. The mathematics of war were shifting slowly in humanity's favor. On Earth, Colonel Park watched the battle unfold on massive screens. Each explosion made his heart ache. Those ships had people on them. Soldiers who had volunteered for what everyone thought was certain death. They were buying time with their lives. We are actually winning, Dr. Shin said in disbelief. She had come to the command center to help analyze holoship weaknesses. How is this possible? Because they underestimated us, Colonel Park replied. They thought we would be easy prey like all the others. They did not expect us to fight back. General Beak stood rigid, watching every movement of the battle. His earlier doubts had faded. Whatever the truth was about human origins, these people were his people. Earth was his home, and they were not going to lose it without a fight. In space, Admiral O saw an opportunity. The Holo fleet had spread out, trying to surround the human ships, but that meant they were no longer in tight formation. They were vulnerable. All ships, execute pattern Gamma, she ordered. Now, the human fleet suddenly changed direction, diving straight into the center of the Holo formation. It was a suicide move, or so the Holo thought. But the humans had planned for this. Fire all missiles, Admiral O commanded. Everything we have. Hundreds of missiles launched at once, spreading out in every direction. The Holo ships tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions bloomed across the darkness, and Holo vessels shattered like glass. But the enemy was far from defeated. They regrouped quickly, their remaining ships forming a new formation. And then they revealed their true weapon. The largest Holo ship, which had stayed back during the fighting, began to glow with terrible energy. Waves of darkness spread out from it, shutting down human ships as they passed. Shields failed. Weapons stopped working. Engines died. What is happening? Admiral O shouted as the Unity lost power. On the scout ship, Nolan recognized the weapon immediately. It is a void pulse. It drains energy from everything nearby. We only have minutes before all our ships go dark. Is there a way to stop it? Kira asked. Only by destroying the ship that controls it. But nothing can get close enough. Admiral O heard this through the communication channel. She looked at her crew, at the dark screens and dying lights. In minutes, they would be helpless. The Holo would consume them all. Then she had an idea. A terrible, wonderful human idea. Colonel Park, she said through the communication device. Can you hear me? On Earth, Colonel Park grabbed the microphone. I hear you, Admiral. The nuclear missiles we saved for ground defense. Can they reach the Holo command ship? General Beak immediately understood. You want us to fire nuclear weapons into space? The radiation, the fallout, will be nothing compared to what happens if we lose, Admiral O replied. Do it now. We will clear a path. Colonel Park looked at General Beak, waiting for authorization. The general hesitated only for a second. Fire everything, he ordered. On Earth, silos opened across every continent. Missiles rose into the sky, heading toward space. They were not designed for this kind of flight. But human engineers had made modifications overnight, pushed by fear and desperation down in space. The Unity and the other surviving ships forced their emergency power systems online. They would only have a few minutes of operation, but it would be enough. They flew straight at the Holo command ship, drawing fire, creating a corridor for the missiles to follow. Kira, get your ship out of here, Admiral O commanded. We stay with you, Kira replied. We are all family. We fight together. The missiles entered space, streaking toward the massive Holo vessel. The enemy tried to intercept them, but human pilots flew interference, sacrificing their ships to protect the weapons. Each death was a choice, freely made, for everyone else thought the nuclear missiles hit their target. The explosion was like a new sun being born. The void pulse stopped instantly as the command ship disintegrated. Energy returned to the human fleet. Weapons came back online, and now the Holo were the ones who were confused and afraid. All ships, Admiral O said, her voice strong despite the chaos. Finish them. The battle that followed was not elegant. It was brutal and messy and desperate. But it was human. Every pilot fought like 10. Every gunner fired until their weapons overheated. Every crew member gave everything they had. When it was over, the Hollow Fleet was destroyed. Only 60 ships remained from 300, and they fled into the darkness, running from the primitive species that had somehow defeated them on the Unity. Admiral Lowe sat back in her chair and breathed for what felt like the first time in hours. Around her, crew members hugged each other and cried and laughed. They had done the impossible. On Earth, celebrations erupted across the planet. People danced in the streets, strangers embraced, old enemies shook hands. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. Colonel Park stood in the quiet command center, watching the screens show the retreating hollow ships. Kira appeared beside him, exhaustion and joy mixing on her face. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it." "We did it," Colonel Park corrected. "Together." Kira nodded. "The Valori will hear of this battle. They will know that their lost children survived, that they became stronger than anyone imagined." She paused. "You will have visitors soon. Many of our people will want to meet you. Will they be friendly? After what you just accomplished, they will be terrified." She smiled. "In the best possible way." 1 month later, the first official Valori delegation arrived on Earth. They came with gifts and knowledge and open arms. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had family among the stars. At the welcoming ceremony, General Beak made a speech that was broadcast across both worlds. "We forgot where we came from," he said. "For 50,000 years, we thought we were alone. But our blood remembered. When the darkness came, we did not run. We stood and fought. Because that is what humans do. That is what we have always done." Colonel Park stood in the crowd, watching history unfold. Beside him, Kira listened to the speech with tears in her eyes. "Welcome home," she whispered to no one in particular. "Welcome home." The stars shone brightly overhead, no longer cold and distant, but familiar. Like lights left on by family, waiting for travelers to return. Humanity had finally found its way back.